Welcome to another episode of a Colts podcast brought to you by Fan Nation on SI.com. My name is Brandon, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. Man, Big J journalist, Andrew Moore. How's camp today, pal? How are you? How's camp?
It's been a busy day, that's for sure. I've been up since before 5 a.m., but hey, we're rolling. We've been talking Colts football all day. Was down there in Westfield, taking in practice. It was a lighter practice for the Colts today. Shells and shorts, did a lot of 7-on-7, 11-on-11 work. Got to speak with Gus Bradley. Got to give an update or get an update on Mike Strawn from the man himself. And it was a good day down there at Colts camp. Weather was beautiful. If you haven't checked it out already, go on over to horseshoehuddle.com and see my notes for the day, but we're going to get into it right here. Plus, we've got a ticket giveaway to announce the winner of. How you doing, man? I'm
doing well. Ticket giveaway at the end of the episode.
End of the episode.
So, stick around. A lot of fun NFL talk, I imagine, today too. So no reason to skip out of the episode, after the Colts talk, but I'm doing fine. One more day of work before I get to leave for my bachelor party. Bachelorette party. Got the golf set up. Got the scars purchased. And it's going to be a good weekend.
I got some surprises for you that I'll be bringing up to Old Lake St. Clair. So
is it an American flag Speedo?
It is not.
You were?
You already have that.
I'm bringing an American hat, American flag captain's hat. Nobody's allowed to drive the boat unless they're wearing it. And that's just the rule.
It's going to be a good time.
It is. All right. So Andrew did go to camp today. If you go watch the media availability videos that the Colts put out, you will hear his voice asking Gus Bradley a question. Great question, by the way. It got Gus Bradley real excited. As well as two questions, Mr. Mike Strawn, who, by the way, did not know he sounds that way. And then Zaire Franklin, who also seemed to think Andrew asked a good question. But before we get into that, we're going to talk Colts versus Bills, do a little recap on that preseason game. Colts lose 27-24. General thoughts of that game is everybody chill the fuck out.
Explicit.
Okay? Everybody chill out because it's preseason. You know what I mean? It's a preseason game. First preseason game with a new quarterback. Okay. The most vanilla offense you can imagine a team running. I don't care if it's against second team. You know what I mean? Another good point that I thought was brought up today while listening to other people talk about this game. Smart individuals, not people on Twitter. The best running back in the entire league who's going to make this offense churn, also not playing in the football game. Okay. So everybody take a chill pill. Okay. I imagine we're going to talk about wide receivers, so I'll wait on that, but chill out. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, there was some bad that came out of it, but honestly, there was a lot of good that I think came out of it too. I mean, we talk about, I saw a lot of Colts fans kind of getting up in arms about losing a last second field goal to the Buffalo Bills. The result of these preseason games literally means nothing. I mean, do you remember Peyton Manning and these Colts teams going 0-4 year after year after year?
Whatever it was. I used to think, oh no, we're going to suck before I knew anything about football.
Year after year after year, and then just roll off 12 wins in their sleep. So the point of the preseason.
In a row.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The point of the preseason is for the coaches to evaluate these guys, for players to knock a little bit of the rust off, and to really get a sense of where the team is at. And I know some people were also taking a little bit too much stock in some of the players' performances, and we'll get to that. But overall, I thought there was plenty of good. There's definitely some things that the Colts need to clean up on. But hey, first preseason game, first time really live action out there. Starters got plenty of work in, which was good to see. And I think even better to see was that the Colts came out of this game pretty unscathed as far as injuries are concerned. So I think there's plenty to gain from what we saw in Buffalo on Saturday afternoon.
Starting defense thrives. What do we force? 5 turnovers.
The Colts
Where are
all
stats,
together,
Matt?
he should be here. I was talking to him earlier, but yeah, 5 turnovers for the Colts defense. Not just, I think the starters alone forced 3 turnovers in the first quarter. So the Colts defense picking up right where they left off to end the 2021 season. We saw guys like Nick Cross. Nick Cross was a guy that not only in coverage but also stopping the run right up in there, and I thought we got to see exactly why the Colts are so high on Nick Cross, is because he can do everything. He's all over the field, has a nose for the ball, exactly what the Colts want in their strong safety. We saw Isaiah Rodgers out there, who not only recovered a fumble, but he was also on the receiving end of an interception. Now, Isaiah Rodgers did go down with a, and is it currently in the concussion protocol. Did see him out there at practice today, which was good. He didn't participate, but he was at least out there. So a lot of times when guys are in concussion protocol, sometimes you don't even see them out there on the field. But he had his jersey on. He was watching from the sideline. So good sign for Isaiah Rodgers. But I was fairly impressed by the starting defense. I mean, it got off to a little bit of a rocky start as the Bills drove it right down the field. Colts were able to hold them in the red zone. But at the same time, I think we saw the potential and kind of saw what we have been seeing from this defense for the last 3 weeks in Westfield. That they're aggressive. They can still turn the ball over at a high rate, and they've got some players on the defensive side of the ball.
Stats Matt says, "Come on, guys. Ellinger QB1, Philip Lindsay RB2, Pierce is a bust. Right, can't call plays, and the offensive line sucks. Obviously, this is the shit that people are actually saying on Twitter. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. I had me and Stats Matt together arguing against some moron that was claiming that we should just be giving Ellinger a shot, and that he has a higher ceiling than Matt Ryan. So I go to this guy's page. And Matt Ryan is washed up, of course. This is kind of on that note. I go to this guy's page. His most recent tweet that's not a reply says, "I see so much of Andrew Luck and Sam Ellinger." And I said, "Oh, so I'm dealing with an absolute Pop-Tart here." I mean, what are we doing? So I immediately told Stats Matt, we're done arguing with this guy. People, those words, he said that. So, chill out. The starting defense, though, back to that. I mean, they weren't playing first stringers. They weren't playing Josh Allen. But people got to give a little more credit to the depth of this team, the Bills team, offensively and on the defensive side of the ball in their depth. I understand we didn't our first team offense, and I know we can get in. Are we done with the defense for now?
Well, I think one more thing is, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, but I certainly noticed DeForest Buckner causing a lot of havoc in the middle of that line when the starters were out there. And I mean, we've kind of talked about it throughout the offseason. How is the addition of Yannick Ngakoue on one side? How is having Kwity Paye on the other taking that next step? How is it going to free up DeForest Buckner? And Buckner was only in there. I should have looked at the snap count, but he was only in there for probably a couple series or so. But he was certainly making his presence felt, getting through that Bills offensive line and getting right in the face of Case Keenum. He looked good. Buckner looked like all-pro Buckner out there.
Yeah, and keep in mind also Darius Leonard not on the field, and the defense looked fantastic. Moving on, in regards to the Ellinger thing, Swag Kelly, exactly. Literally, Andrew, a couple years ago, I was like, I think this guy needs to be on the team. At least be on the team. You're like, Brady, he's playing third and fourth string players. Like, sure, he looked great now, but he's not even going to make the football team.
Yeah, and Sam
Ellinger may not make the football team.
I don't want to bash Sam Ellinger because I thought Sam Ellinger, he actually probably looked as good as we have seen him. Honestly, he went 10 for 11, had 2 touchdowns. He was able to escape the pocket when it broke down.
He also sprinted 20 yards straight backwards and took a sack that was saved by a penalty.
Kept his eyes down the field. Like you said, Britt, he almost took a very terrible sack that was saved by a penalty. But we saw, I think, a little bit more zip on the ball than we did last year with Sam Ellinger. And that's kind of what I've noticed when I've been in Westfield at practice. He does have a little bit more zip on the ball. He's been in an NFL weight room for over a year now, so it's bound to happen. But again, we need to slow the roll on Sam Ellinger. Again, he was going up against the third stringers. Some guys aren't even going to make an NFL team. So while he did look good and that was encouraging, let's kind of hold our horses on anointing him the savior and the future quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts.
I would love to keep Sam on the team, and you and I talked about this weekend after the game. As a gadget guy, but why do we need that? We have the number one running back in the league, and then we have one of the best gadget guys in the league. He just so happens to be running back, not quarterback like a Taysom Hill. Naheem Hines is going to do everything besides throw the football. Hell, he might throw the football at some point this year. Who knows? So we don't need two guys that are gadget guys. And no disrespect to Naheem is either calling him a gadget guy, but that's what he is. He's incredible. But yeah, let's move on from Sam Ellinger because realistically, he's probably going to hit the waivers. Hopefully, he sneaks through. Hopefully, we lock him on the practice squad. But in all likelihood, he's probably gone. Especially with a little injury over in Jets world. Who knows? I don't know. Let's talk about the starting offense, though. Again, in regards to this Bills team, they're the Super Bowl favorites. Okay, I would hope they have a little bit of depth. So their second string defense, who probably a ton of those guys have played together for a while, at least some of them, okay? They're playing against an offense who's never played live snaps against another team in an NFL game, against an offensive play caller who's using a snippet of the playbook. What else do you expect?
Well, I think the key in all of this, especially when you're looking at the offensive side of the ball, I mean, there were a lot of people who were worried about the starters on offense not being able to move the ball more. And I mean, I agree probably to 20% of that. I would say I would have liked to see the Colts move the ball a little bit more, have some more success. The offensive line did struggle at times. Some of the wide receivers couldn't create separation. But we also need to remember the plays and this Colts offense is as vanilla as it gets, and as vanilla as you will see all season long.
Yep.
The Colts Frank Reich was not scheming guys open. The Colts weren't showing their hand on really anything that they're going to use in the regular season. They're out there to kind of just get guys warmed up, get their legs underneath them, and kind of try to put guys in positions where they can still make plays.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not risk them getting injured. I mean, there's really no gain in showing this stuff and having a big offensive explosion in week one of the preseason. There's absolutely zero to gain from it. So it did allow Matt Ryan to try to work with his receivers in a live game situation. It allowed Danny Pinter and Matt Pryor to get some live game reps out there with the starting offensive line, which is good. But again, we need to slow our roll, hold our horses on saying that this offense is dead. This offense has a ton of problems. We haven't seen anything of what this offense is going to actually look like come week one in Houston. So I thought I was fine with it. I mean, I think the offense, we have to remember also.
We're not going to, by the way.
The Colts' best weapon wasn't out there, Jonathan Taylor. He's not going to be. He should stay on the sidelines until week one in Houston. So I'm not worried about this Colts offense one bit. As Stats Matt says, Reich kind of said he forced the wide receivers into one-on-ones and we showed no mesh concepts. Stats Matt is exactly right. That came directly from Frank Reich after the game. So like I said, very vanilla. Test these young wide receivers so that way in training camp and preseason it's harder than it actually is come week one in Houston, and then they can start building their confidence and really start showing what this offense is made of from there on out.
Thoughts on Matt Ryan?
Thought he was solid. I mean, you saw the command he had of the offense. You saw his accuracy out there. Again, you saw some plays that he made that I mean, then there were a couple drops. I mean, there was a drop by Alec Pierce. There was
Paris Campbell, I think.
A drop by Paris Campbell that could have extended the drive.
Pitt had one kind of knocked out of his hands. That was a questionable throw on fourth down.
I thought he was solid. I mean,
Yeah.
he was accurate. He made quick decisions with the football. Didn't put wide receivers in a bad spot when they didn't need to be. So yeah, for his first preseason game, I didn't have any qualms with how Matt Ryan played.
Yeah, and I was happy with it. I was happy to see him take snaps. Looks awesome in Colts white. I'll tell you that much right now.
Mhm.
And Anthony Hurt here makes a good point as well. Atlanta thought they had a shot at Watson, and that's the only reason they parted with Matty Ice. And part of that was, I mean, they by the time they parted with him, they knew they weren't getting Watson, but that was enough for him. I think that was enough for him to want to part ways and go take a shot. But oh, no crap, stats man. Wide receivers. This is my biggest issue. Honestly, this is because I can't even take people saying Matt Ryan shouldn't be QB1 seriously, or Nick Foles QB2 even. I'd entertain that maybe. It's okay, Anthony. I'm just joking around. Goodness gracious. But saying the wide receiver, I'm sick of, we have to go get a vet wide receiver. We have to sign TY. This team needs a veteran. There's no way. Like, we're deranged if we don't go get another vet. No, we don't. Okay? Sure. Would it be nice? Absolutely. Okay? We don't need it. It's not a absolutely do or die situation. We have wide receivers who, again, Frank Reich said, we force them into situations that are going to be hard on them. We want to see, they're trial by fire. They're trying to put them into tough situations so that when scheming guys open, running mesh routes that are going to create better openings, play action situations that are going to help guys get open as well. Okay. Shut up. That's it. Give it a minute. Okay. It was preseason game 1. Oh, they weren't creating separation. Okay. And that's it.
So I think I mean let's just go through the depth chart. I think Michael Pittman looked like Michael Pittman. We saw the Colts on one particular play get it to Michael Pittman on a screen, and I think we're going to see this a lot more, getting the ball quickly to Michael Pittman or getting it to him in space, and we're going to see that run after catch ability that Michael Pittman possesses that we didn't necessarily see last season. Paris Campbell, I thought Paris Campbell was a little bit of a disappointment to me, just because he did have some opportunities to make some catches and he didn't convert. And I think for Paris Campbell especially, you need to capitalize on every single opportunity that's presented to you. Alec Pierce, I mean, welcome to the NFL, Alec Pierce. On that 3rd and 2, he got jammed at the line of scrimmage and he had trouble getting off of it and it ended up in a drop. However, he did come back from that. He had a really nice in-breaking route there. I think it was in the second quarter. I think it was Nick Foles delivered the ball accurately to Alec Pierce, and we saw him be able to make that play down the field. I think that's what we need to see a little bit more of from Alec Pierce as we go through the rest of camp and the preseason. Ashton Dulin made a couple of plays with the second team wide receiver or second team offense, and you really like to see Ashton Dulin again. He's secured that 4th wide receiver role. He's going to be a guy that comes in periodically for Pittman or Pierce, Campbell, whoever, and you're just going to be able to trust that Ashton Dulin is going to do his job. So, did the wide receivers impress me? I wouldn't say that. I would say that they did have some opportunities that they didn't capitalize on. But I mean, you talked about the separation issue, and I do think that is something that the Colts are aware of and are working on, because today at practice during individual position drills, Reggie Wayne was out there with a bag and he was up getting physical with these wide receivers. I put a video of it out there on Twitter, trying to help these guys with their separation at the top of their cuts. So this group is still a work in progress. And again, it kind of gets back to just everyone needs to just slow down a little bit. It was preseason game 1. I think these wide receivers are going to be fine, especially when the offense is vanilla. Frank Reich is helping to scheme these guys
open.
Week of
practice this week.
They get more more
Live
comfortable
reps.
with live reps and with Matt Ryan as the quarterback in those live game situations. So it's a young wide receiver group, but hey, there's going to be some growing pains. That's just going to be expected.
All right, standouts. I'll go first. Isaiah Rodgers. Hot damn. Interception. I believe he picked up a fumble. Dude's got to be on the football field. Darius Butler said it yesterday. This dude is a playmaker. This dude needs to be on the football field. Okay. And I don't know. Right now I can't even think the other guy's name. I didn't hear his name much. Didn't hear his name Saturday. Did you?
I mean, I saw him help out in the running game. He didn't really have too many opportunities in against the pass, but I do think that Isaiah Rodgers was probably the standout. As Tim Milliken says, I just admire the fact that Brandon would propose marriage just to get to a bachelor party at an undisclosed and well air-conditioned location. Kind of an extreme plan just to get some AC. Besides, odds are he winds up passed out on the lake on a raft covered in permanent marker. Is that going to be our goal for you this weekend? Oh, by the way, I had somebody ask me at camp today if your air conditioning had been fixed yet.
You're shitting me.
I swear to God.
Who asked you that?
Someone asked me. They were like, "Hey, did Brandon ever get his AC fixed?" So,
who was this?
It was RC Evans. It was Colts loyalist. So, our buddy,
shit.
Yeah. So he was there. So
that's awesome.
The people are all wondering whether you're going to be cool or not.
I should be coming home to a nearly finished air conditioning unit Sunday.
There you go.
We took out a bunch of concrete around the corner where the unit's going to be, and we got it all set up to lay a nice new slab of concrete for that to be on, and a nice spot for my dumpster and recycling bin to go on. So now we just got to actually lay the concrete, and then my dad's going to finish installing everything. So hopefully we are real close at the end of this weekend as it's starting to cool off. Last week was nice and cool. I mean, I was a happy camper last week, but anyway, someone brought me up before that. We were talking about Isaiah Rodgers, Brandon Faison. Sorry, I had to bring up Tim's joke here because it was very funny.
But yeah, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers has been playing well, and we obviously saw the ball skills again on Saturday. I already touched on Nick Cross. Nick Cross was a guy that definitely stood out to me. And then I want to shout out Kylen Granson. Kylen Granson has, I think, over the past couple of weeks, I mean, all the talk has been going to Drew Ogletree and what he's been doing. Kylen Granson has slowly been coming on in camp, and he continued that on Sunday with a couple nice catches, continued that today at Colts camp. Matt Ryan looked Kylen Granson's way a lot, and Kylen Granson was open quite a bit. He's out there creating separation and making plays. That's why I think there's
tight end battle is interesting.
It really is, because when you look at the whole tight end room, I mean, 6'5" Mo Alley Cox, 6'5" Drew Ogletree, 6'7" Jelani Woods, and then there's the smaller guy in Kylen Granson, and you want to call him small, he's still 6'2".
Yeah.
But Kylen Granson stands out because his skill set is just a little bit different from all the rest of the tight ends, and he can certainly, I without a doubt, think he is the one that can create the most separation out of any of the tight ends. He has a stranglehold on that move tight end, that F tight end position in this offense. And I think you're seeing the Colts ramp him up because the Colts are starting to have a bigger plan for him going into this year. And behind Michael Pittman Jr., Kylen Granson has received the second most targets from Matt Ryan. And I think that's very intentional for this Colts offense.
All right, and shoot, I was going to pull up some stats to talk about my disappointment, but that 4-string quarterback, I mean, just absolutely,
Jack Cohen,
Cohen, absolutely a disappointment. Ruined the spread, ruined the Colts money line. I mean, just did everything wrong.
Jack Cohen, he looked lost out there.
So bad. He looked so bad.
He looked so lost, and it was such a drastic drop from when Sam Ellinger came out of the game. Jack Cohn comes into the game in the fourth quarter, and the offense does nothing. And I legitimately mean nothing. He was 1 for 5 for 0 yards in the fourth quarter. Be just bad as bad can be. And there was
talking about Jack Cohn, my dog starts barking. He's so pissed off.
There were some other factors. I mean, the offensive line, the fourth string offensive lineman didn't necessarily do a great job. But yeah, I mean, if you thought there was a competition there at QB3, there isn't one any longer.
Yeah. I don't think there ever was, but there's not going to be a QB3 in our opinion. You know what? He might win QB3 because if Sam gets cut and gets picked up on waivers, we might just have Cohen left. That might be our only option.
I mean, he could go to the practice squad, but he's not doing that great of a job at proving that he's worthy of even a practice squad spot at this point.
That was rough. Any other serious disappointments, Andrew? I'm not wildly disappointed with anything.
Thought Jordan Murray, the backup right tackle, had a really good opportunity on Saturday too. With Dennis Kelly out, Jordan Murray had a good opportunity to come in and really put up a fight and enter that conversation to be the backup right tackle, and absolutely just got blown away by I think there was one play where I think he was responsible for the blown up play that caused the strip sack on Nick Foles that ended up getting returned for a touchdown. So Jordan Murray was one of my big disappointments out there. And then I think in my column for stock up, stock down, I was a little bit disappointed with Paris Campbell just because Paris Campbell needs to make the most out of every opportunity. And so far he hasn't done that, or at least he didn't. He did not do that against the Buffalo Bills on Saturday.
Oh, also, Philip Lindsay was a standout for me as well. I think we talked about it a little bit. Definitely running back number 3. Very impressive.
Philip Lindsay is pretty much a lock to make this roster as running back 3.
Yeah, which, by the way, forgot Philip Lindsay was on this team. The game didn't remind me, but something I was like, oh my God, Philip Lindsay's on the team. I constantly forget him and Nick Foles. By the way, Nick Foles was saying really nice things about Jack Cohn. Absolute liar, Nick Foles. Andrew went down to Westfield today, as we said before. He was at camp. He was a media member today. Big J journalist, got 4 questions in that you can hear if you go watch those clips on Colts.com. Andrew, let's hear some highlights from what you saw today. You had a couple questions for Mike Strawn. Any particular reason that you wanted to make sure to get a couple extra questions in for him?
Well, for Mike Strawn, this is today when he made his camp debut. This was the first time we've seen him since OTAs, early in OTAs. And he disclosed to us today that the reason he's been out so long is because he tore the meniscus in his right knee in OTAs. So did a scope on the knee. He's all healed up. Mike Strawn out there, first day at camp for number 17, had 0 restrictions out there. He was immediately running with the second team offense, made a couple catches in teamwork today, and he looked good. So I just kind of wanted to see where he was at, if he had any restrictions on that knee, and also kind of what he's been doing because he hasn't been able to do things physically. What has he really been focusing on throughout the offseason to still make sure he's checked in and still trying to improve? And he talked about how he's been trying to be locked in mentally, studying the playbook, making sure he knows the plays, knows the routes, because that was a big thing with Mike Strawn last year is just not knowing the route tree. So he wanted to stay locked in, and it didn't look like he was overthinking things. He looked like he knew what he was doing out there. He was moving fast, he was cutting, and I think Mike Strawn coming into this wide receiver battle completely changes the outlook for the bottom end of the roster, because we knew that Desmond Patman and Mike Strawn were going to be fighting. Kiki QT has been pretty good in camp, and now QT is dealing with a groin injury. Does this open the door for Strawn? Well, as Strawn make a couple catches, if he can keep this up and then continue to perform in the preseason like we saw a year ago, and even take that next step, we start to talk about Strawn becoming that wide receiver 5 or having a bigger role on this team, seeing that potential with him start to be tapped into. So Strawn, he said he's very happy to be out there, and he looked like he was good to go and hungry to make an impact on the practice field today.
I'm really excited about his opportunities. He mentioned special teams today. Stats Matt saying Patman had a good special teams gunner rep today. So maybe a little battle there. Stats Matt campaigning for Strawn, wide receiver 5. Probably realistic.
Could happen. And yeah, Strawn and Patman, if they're going to make this team and not just be healthy scratches every game, they're going to have to contribute on special teams. And like I said in my piece, my notes today, Patman was out there getting reps at gunner. Strawn was out there getting reps at gunner. They're going to need to take on these bigger roles. But besides Mike Strawn out there, you saw Matt Ryan he sort of had an up and down day, but his ups were very good. So we'll start with there. I mean, he had a nice double move to Michael Pittman down the sideline for about 35 yards. He hit Nyheim Hines on a wheel route that would have ended up being like a 65-yard TD. That was good to see. Mm-hmm. But then he had some others that weren't so good. I mean, Kylan Granson wide open down the left sideline. And I'm talking like 10, 15 yards wide open. Matt Ryan with probably the worst throw of camp that I've seen from him. Terribly underthrown. Kylan Granson basically had to sit there and wait for it for a couple seconds. Allowed Nick Cross to get right there, knock the ball out just as it arrived. And then he got picked off trying to force the ball to Michael Pittman. Kenny Moore got in there, tipped it up. Beautiful diving interception by Julian Blackman out there to pick it off. So he had his ups and downs, but I think right after the interception, that's when he hit Pittman for 35 yards, hit Hines for 65, responded well to that. But it was a very light day for the Colts. They didn't do really any one-on-ones. They're preparing for the intense practices tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, that the Detroit Lions are going to be a part of, because it's going to be full pads. The intensity is going to be ramped up. They're going to be going 11 on 11 starters versus starters, getting in some real good work for these teams. So it was a good practice. Thoughts Dio Dangbo stood out again. Ben Banigou stood out. There was a play that Grover Stewart made in the backfield it was a reverse where Jonathan Taylor tossed it to Nyheim Hines.
I saw you tweet about that one.
Grover blew that up for about a 4-yard loss. So a lot of team drills today, but it was good to see all those guys back onto the field.
Give the offense some time. Everybody give the offense some time. So let's talk about this Colts versus Lions preview. It's not only a preview for a preseason game, but a preview for a joint practice, a preview for Hard Knocks.
Saw Hard Knocks crews there. They were setting up. They were getting those wide angle shots of the Colts practice field. So
very cool. Now that I'm jealous of. I mean, I'm jealous of you talking to players and coaches, but I don't know. All right, so joint practice this week. What can we expect? Stats Matt said it earlier. I think with Dan Campbell practice coming to town, I think you can expect an aggressive, hard hitting, rough practice. Probably a few scuffles.
It's probably going to be a few scuffles. I think they're going to toe the line of making sure that it's competitive and a hard practice without putting guys at risk for injury. Because if you're doing that, then the whole point of these joint practices is mute, because you're risking your guys being hurt.
Yeah.
For again, we're in the preseason for literally no reason.
And if there's an issue, the Colts will tell whoever wants to come next year no.
Exactly. So that they are going to get a lot of work in these practices. So and they're going to be intense. So we're probably not going to see the starters much, if at all, on Saturday against the Lions. But
there's your answer to topic number 2. No.
As far as scuffles concerned, I mean, if you got to put your money on Michael Pittman Jr. being involved in at least one scuffle.
Is there a line on that?
There should be. Should we do let's do like point. Should we do 0.5 scuffles or 1.5 scuffles?
I say 1.5 of Michael Pittman Jr. 0.5, but total scuffles 1.5. He will be half the scuffles.
I'm going to take the over on both of those.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
it's going to be interesting to see because again, Matt Ryan's going to go up against live defenses again. I'm sure that this Detroit Lions defense is going to try to be physical with the Colts wide receivers up front. Obviously Michael Pittman, but Paris Campbell, Alec Pierce, how do those guys react to that? Can we see them have success? What about the tight ends? Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, who's been very, very quiet all through camp. Do Drew Ogletree or Jelani Woods show out a little bit? How does Matt Pryor and Braden Smith handle going up against the number 2 overall pick in Aiden Hutchinson? And then over on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, that's good work for them this week.
Right, exactly. Then on the other side of the ball, Unique Ngakoue, Kwity Paye going up against Penei Sewell, Stephon Gilmore, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's quite a few matchups all over here that are going to be very, very interesting to watch. And I mean, for me, I think the Colts defense is going to be able to take care of the Lions offense pretty well. It's going to be, for me, seeing how these Colts wide receivers and Matt Ryan go up against the Lions defenders and see if they can have success.
Which, by the way, this team's not very good. So I'm hoping people are walking away from this exchange saying the Colts won, the mixed practices. But speaking of Penei Sewell, one of the guys we talked about in his draft, Alex Leatherwood, another one that we talked about in that draft, not good. Mm-hmm. Not panning out. Penei Sewell panning out well. Leatherwood, that we thought was high on our list, not panning out. So
he's been moved around quite a bit over there in Las Vegas. I will say this about the joint practices. Some of the most intense battles in these joint practice sessions are the one-on-ones, are the wide receivers and tight ends against the cornerbacks and safeties, and then the offensive linemen versus defensive linemen. Those a lot of times that's where the scuffles break out because you're trying to win that rep. Those reps are extra physical, and tempers can start to flare. So, well, that's probably one of the top areas that you're going to want to pay attention to and follow along with guys on the beat to see who's winning those matchups, especially for the Colts when you're talking about like a Paris Campbell or an Alec Pierce.
Yeah, and what I want to see, what I want to see out of the Colts this week is just a little more success on offense. That's it. A little more rhythm. But it's something that's going to take time. But I would like to see the offense get to walk away feeling good about their competition this week.
Right. And then I think when you go to the game, the starters might not play a lot, if at all. But I think this game still holds a lot of importance for guys like just on the defensive side of the ball alone. When you're talking about guys like Dayo Odangbo, Ben Banogu, Ifedi Odenigbo, RJ McIntosh, guys like that, these backups along the defensive line who are trying to create a name for themselves, trying to boost their confidence going into the regular season and really carve out a role on that defensive line, because we know the starters are set. But behind that, there's still quite a few spots up for grabs to be in that regular 8 to 9 man rotation on the defensive line. So you start proving that in preseason games, gaining the trust of Gus Bradley and this defense. By the way, talking to Gus Bradley about Dayo Odangbo today, when I asked him that question, his eyes just lit up. He loves him some Dayo Odangbo, and he loves to see him coming along, not really thinking as much, just kind of going out there, playing fast, playing loose. And we're seeing Dayo Odangbo Saturday. He had quite a few rushes. Like I said, he had a nice play today, breaking up a pass on Sam Ehlinger, getting his big mitt in there. So Gus Bradley loves him some Dayo Odangbo. And
go watch Gus Bradley chat with the media today. And Andrew asked about Dayo, and Gus Bradley lights up at that question. I mean, Andrew got Gus Bradley pumped up today. Very cool.
Gus Bradley, very nice man. Very nice man.
So nice.
He talked with us for a long time, took extra questions after it was done. Big fan of Gus Bradley.
All right, and let's move along to some other Colts news. Andrew,
wait, real quick, prediction: Lions Colts Sunday.
What do you think?
I'm taking Colts. I think they bounce back. Colts by 1 million. I think Sam Ehlinger goes out there, throws for about 175 and 3 tuds. We get Colts Nation all up in a tussle about Sam Ellinger being the next Andrew Luck.
We get a whole half of Nick Foles, quarter and a half.
I'd say probably a quarter. They probably
quarter and a half him, quarter and a half Sam, a quarter from. Jeez, that's still way too much time for Jack Cohn.
I have a feeling that that's probably when it's going to be, and you'll see Matt Ryan there with a baseball cap on the sidelines.
Yeah, maybe calling plays, being a coach for the day, like Kyler Murray.
Except Kyler Murray, with all that film that he's been watching.
Was that a joke or was that legit? Kyler Murray was like down there, like pretending to coach and call plays.
I didn't see that.
I swear, maybe I saw on the Snapchat or something. It was the ESPN Snapchat though, and those fuckers are lying all the time.
Explicit.
Those highlights, literally every time they post something on the Snapchat stories, dead lie. Gotcha headline. All right, let's talk about other Colts news, and we'll move it through this quick. Injury designations. Colts remove wide receiver Mike Strawn from the PUP list. Remaining on the PUP list is linebacker Darius Shaquille Leonard.
Saw him again at practice today. He was joking around, jogging up and down the field.
I don't care.
It's still at this point just all about getting that strength back. So and talking to Zaire Franklin, he spoke about Shaquille Leonard and said that nobody wants to be back sooner than Shaquille Leonard. So again, kind of going into your theory, maybe he pushes himself too much.
You know what? Let's back it up just a hair. Mr. J567 says, just leave Cohn on the sidelines. He ain't the guy. Better idea. Put his ass out there for 2.5 quarters and leave Sam Ellinger on the bench so that there's no more tape of that man out there. So you can get through waivers if we have to cut him. Colts release offensive tackle Jason Spriggs, wide receiver Isaiah Rodgers.
Not Isaiah Rodgers.
That's startling to read if you don't pay attention to the wide receiver part, you know.
Isaiah Ford. So that's on me. Hey.
Okay.
Got a new phone, and
we had two Isaiah Rodgerses.
Yeah, and it still changes things up on me. But Isaiah Ford, because the Colts did make their cuts today to get down to the 85 player mark. Technically, they have 86 because Marcel Dabo with the international player pathway program doesn't count against the number. But yeah, Isaiah Ford.
You sure do know how to take an unimportant segment, make it double the amount of time.
Listen, people need to know.
Colts waive offensive tackle Brandon Kemp, wide receiver Michael Young Jr., and cornerback Alexander Myers. Do you want to tell me their life stories as well?
If you want to hear it.
Okay. Colts that have so far been named to the NFL top 100 list. DeForest Buckner coming in at 66 and Kenny Moore the second at 82. Some respect for that man.
You always forget to turn the applause back.
Oh, I don't use the sound effects very often.
Okay, Kenny Moore showing up at number 82. First time he's been on the top 100 list, so I think well deserved. DeForest Buckner, 66,
lower than last year.
He was 27 last year.
He did not have as great of a year last year.
Do you think 66 is fair? Or do you think he should be a little bit higher? Do you think it's too harsh to get him down to 60?
It depends. Do you think he's the second best defensive tackle in the league?
Second or third, depending on your flavor.
So,
if you like Chris Jones or DeForest Buckner, I think those guys are probably 2A and 2B. Jeffrey Simmons could be thrown in there probably.
I don't know. It's but hey, you know what? Justin Tucker's in there now too. We got a little nickel representation. Kenny Moore, Justin Tucker for the brand on there. That's probably trademarks. I'm probably not allowed to say that.
First kicker to be on the top 100 list since Adam Vinatieri. Old Vinny.
Best kicker of all time.
Best kicker of all time. Now,
surefire Hall of Famer.
They announced 100 through 51. So there's 50 through 1 left. 2 Colts have been named. Who do you think of the remaining 50, which Colts make it in that top 50?
Jonathan Taylor's a lock. Darius Leonard's a lock. Quentin Nelson should be a lock. But if there was one that all of a sudden out of the blue just blew your mind, they left out, be Quentin Nelson for missing time a little bit last year, not having as great of a year as we're used to seeing him have last year. But I would still be absolutely shocked if that man is not on the top 100 list.
I still think most players consider him the best guard in the NFL, or number 2 behind Zach Martin. So I think Q probably isn't in the top 20, may not even be in the top 30, but I think Quentin's in there.
Yeah.
Shaquille Leonard, I think, will probably end up.
That's what I said, Matt. Gilmore.
Stephon Gilmore has a chance, man. I don't know exactly where he'd end up. It's all the players. This is
then Stephon Gilmore might be in there.
100% determined by the players. JT, I think easily top 10. Easily.
Yeah.
I probably put JT. He might be looking at.
Too many quarterbacks are going to clog up the top 5.
5 to 7.
Too many quarterbacks are going to clog up the top 5. I bet Derrick Henry gets voted in above him.
I don't know about that. I think top 5 probably be something like Aaron Donald, obviously. TJ Watt's up there. Cooper Kupp is up there.
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady,
Aaron Rodgers, JT. I think JT could be between the 5 and 7 range.
All right. Are we good there? We'll see. It'll come out eventually, and then we can talk about it some more. News around the league.
News around the league.
Jets quarterback. Yikes. This is so sad. I heard about this morning. Did not know until this morning. Jets quarterback Zach Wilson had a procedure done on his right knee after injury against the Eagles. Status in doubt for week 1. I thought it was worse than that. I thought it was a meniscus or something. Can I get an update, stats, Matt?
It is a meniscus. So the initial diagnosis is a torn meniscus. He had the procedure done this morning. Since I've been at Colts camp and traveling all day, I haven't really seen if there's been an update on it.
I thought it was Joe Flacco season.
It is Joe Flacco season.
They're talking about trading for Jimmy G, like, is what people are, speculating. Like, I don't know that week 1 is the problem. I think week 6.
Hey, how many Super Bowls does Joe Flacco have?
1 more than Colin Kaepernick.
How many Super Bowls does Jimmy Garoppolo have?
0.
Well, I think he might have some as like a backup for the Patriots now that I think about it. But
that's
as
true.
A starter, you get it. Joe Flacco still elite.
Apparently.
So Stats Matt coming in clutch, saying that it was a cleanup, 2 to 4 weeks. They said the procedure was perfect and nothing more than a trim, which I think is probably best case scenario for Zach Wilson. Obviously, he's still going to miss probably a few weeks. So like 2 to 4 weeks, he's still going to miss a couple games, but it doesn't necessarily tank the Jets season. So it could have been a lot worse. I mean, it could have been torn ACL done for the year for Zach Wilson.
Eagles trade wide receiver J.J. Arcega-Whiteside to the Seahawks for defensive back Ugo Amadi. All right. Never heard of either one of these folks.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I think he was taken in the draft, the same draft as Paris Campbell, like one of those wide receivers, and he just has not panned out whatsoever. And I think the Eagles were in the same boat as the Colts as far as not taking like A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Hunter Renfrow, DK Metcalf, all those guys.
I don't think you could read his name. There's so many letters. I don't think you could read his name on the back of his jersey from the first row of the stadium with binoculars. That's a lot of letters to fit on a jersey. Ravens corner, Marcus Peters, Browns corner, Denzel Ward, and Packers tight end, Bob Tunyon, have all 3 been activated from the PUP list.
Big names coming back, and each one means a lot to their respective teams. I mean, Denzel Ward, top 5 cornerback in the league. Marcus Peters definitely is needed there for that Ravens defense. And then without Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers needs some weapons. Having Bob Tunyon out there definitely helps.
Patriots placed cornerback Malcolm Butler on IR, and the Chiefs signed defensive lineman Danny Shelton.
Malcolm Butler trying to make a comeback with the Patriots, the team that made him famous, and ends up on season-ending IR because I don't know if since the IR rules have gone back to what they were. I think you can still return, I think, but I think it can't be done until like the beginning of the season, beginning of the regular season, something like that. So, yeah, poor Malcolm Butler, but I think he'll be fine.
I feel like there was more stuff that happened in the NFL this week that I wanted to talk about, and you didn't put any of it in there. So, no storylines. Oh, Deshaun Watson got brutalized in Jacksonville. What were they screaming?
I'm not going to say it. You know,
I don't. Pervert.
You sick F word.
You sick fuck. That's awesome. There we go. Everybody in Jacksonville in the stands, grandmas to children, are screaming, "You sick fuck." That's incredible. Good for Jacksonville. Proud of them for that.
I mean, the Cleveland Browns are going to get just crucified every home game this season. They probably deserve it. So for making that kind of move.
Stats Matt, if you're put on IR, it's like 12 weeks or something. It's not the whole season. You can come back. Smart ass. What stats do you know? All right. It's the moment probably some people have been waiting for. We're going to announce the ticket giveaway winner.
I didn't ask you. Do you have a drum roll on that soundboard?
I don't think I do. Wait. Nope. I've got some drums. All right, here we go. This is good. This is a good lead up.
Hey, and also, don't be the guy that takes the shit in the porta potties. All right? I went in there, I about threw up. All right? Have a little...
That's a good lead in. And the winner of the A Colts podcast ticket giveaway is Adam Gettinger. Adam Gettinger. Hardly know her. At Wyoming Adam on Twitter. Congratulations.
Round of applause.
Well, now I got to go back. You know how many buttons there are, Andrew? You have won 2 tickets to the Colts preseason game against the Detroit Lions. We're going to see a lot of Jack Cohn this Saturday.
And a parking pass. So the parking pass was given.
You get to talk the whole fucking show. All I want to do is announce the winner of this damn contest that you did all the work for.
Yeah,
they're your tickets you're giving away. And all I want to do is announce it. And shout out Colts Since Bert on Twitter for the parking pass. That is an additional prize for Adam Gettinger. And hey, Adam was one of those people who did take a screenshot of his review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I don't remember which one, and sent it in to us. So that extra ticket.
Hey, you got the extra entry in there, but yeah, I mean, appreciate everybody that entered. We love all of our supporters.
I just told you more sound effects.
But yeah, Adam, congratulations. I'll be contacting you on Twitter to get all of that sent on over to you. And hopefully you have a great time there down at Lucas Oil Stadium this weekend.
New news, Drew Lock, COVID positive.
Yeah, he'll get over it.
Yeah. Guess what? New news. It's not going to kill him.
Congrats, Adam.
Congrats, Adam. And Andrew will contact you. Adam Gettinger, hardly know her. Thanks for playing. Thanks everybody for playing. And let's get back to the old fashioned. Go check us out, on our socials at A Colts Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We do have an intern. I am going to make that intern do things, possibly, maybe. And we'll see if, the activity on those items pick up a little more, specifically the old Instagram.
Can't wait. It's been a long day for myself personally, but hey, it's all been around Colts football. Joint practices this week. They're going to be intense, to say the least. So keep watching. Go Colts.
Hey, man. Thank you, Andrew, for putting in all that work. And go Colts.
Let this moment become a cherished memory. And then remember, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. God bless you, and God bless football.